Strawberry. Namaste, guys. Christian Long, Life Enhancement Consultant, giving you a big and beautiful shout out on this Sunday morning. Hey, Wendy. Namaste. I'm finishing my blueberry bagel with strawberry cream cheese and some coffee at Einstein Bagels. Eric Hofstas bringing the heat. What's going on, my man? I know I have a random black and white small child behind me for some reason, but it's just one of the generic commercial prints they put on their walls. It's a good cup of coffee. Okay, Lynn, good to have you back on. You've been regular this week. So, Harita, Adma Namaste, welcome. So, a good friend of mine is going through a tough time right now, physically and emotionally. And I thought, well, what's a good topic that we can talk about that we can all benefit and help move our lives forward? And the topic deals with purging. So, if you've never heard the word purging before, it means to get rid of. And if you've heard the word purgatory, as talked about in the Christian faith, purgatory means, hey Marvin, Adma Namaste. Purgatory means, hey Jennifer, Adma Namaste. Purgatory means to purge. So when we leave the physical body and we enter purgatory, there's the different levels of our incarnated soul that are purging or purifying to vibrate up to the higher plane. So when we die, the physical body's no longer being fed with soul energy, but the emotional body is still there, and the emotional body has certain feelings. Those feelings, the lower negative feelings of the emotional body, need to be purged to vibrate to the higher mental plane. And then those negative lower thoughts need to be purged out of the mental body for all of the beautiful lessons that we experienced and lived in our life get absorbed by the higher soul, and then we enter the kingdom of heaven. So how long each soul is in purgatory depends on how many lower vibrational emotions, lower vibrational thoughts that they have. Dreama, Adma Namaste. Does that make sense? So when we do spiritual practices, meaning we sit down, we close our eyes, and we meditate, we bring down a tremendous amount of energy from God, from the great ones, from the higher soul, through our incarnated soul. Again, the incarnated soul is made up of the mental body, the emotional body, the etheric body, and the physical body. That's what the incarnated soul is. So when we're sitting and meditating, we're accessing energies from the higher soul that are pouring down into the incarnated soul. Laura, Adma Namaste. As for those of you who've been studying pranic healing or Hatha Yoga or the teachings of Grandmaster Choa Koksui, you realize that spiritual energy is a fertilizer. Cinnamon, Adma Namaste. That spiritual energy is a fertilizer. So if you have a plot of land and you have a bunch of seeds and weeds in that plot of land and you pour fertilizer on it, is it only going to grow the seeds? No, it's going to grow everything that's in that plot of land, the weeds and the seeds. But here's the interesting thing. I'm not so smart. Grandmaster Choa Koksui is so smart. I'm just parroting what he was teaching me. So we don't know what is deep inside us. We don't know what is deep inside of our chakras, what is deep inside of our energy body. We could have a lot of great seeds. We could also have a lot of great weeds because we don't know what we planted in previous incarnations. We could have planted seeds of generosity, which means we would have a lot of prosperity in this life. We could also have planted seeds of poverty and of stealing, which means we're going to have a very difficult time financially. Now, those seeds take time to produce fruit, right? If you plant corn today, you don't get corn tomorrow. There's a growing season. So it's the same thing on the spiritual path. So you do a good deed, it takes time for that good deed to materialize in our lives. If you do a bad deed, it takes time for that bad deed to materialize in our lives, which is really, really important. What is the catalyst that determines, Adriana, namaste, how quickly that growing season occurs? How do we shorten the growing season? Through our spiritual practice, which is key. So every time you sit and meditate and become aware of God and become aware of the higher self, energy is pouring down, and that energy is stirring up things within our systems. The good things within our systems, hey Paula, Atma Namaste, and the not so good things in our systems. So, Grandmaster Cho Koksui gave us a beautiful system called pranic healing to help alleviate the pain, the sorrow, and suffering in the process of becoming a better person. Because think about this for a second. Let's say you have seeds of anger deep inside of you that you're completely and utterly unaware of, unconscious of. Deep, deep seeds of anger. You start doing a really powerful meditation, that spiritual energy starts pouring down into your life, and then all of a sudden you went from no anger, a 0, to anger level 9, like that. And you're like, where is this anger coming from? It's coming from an ancient seed that has been fertilized within your system. What's up, Sean? Alma's bringing the heat. Long time, girl. Always great to have you on. Hope you're doing well in Florida. Love you very, very much. So that is the life of a spiritual practitioner. But you might be saying, well, Christian, I don't do any meditation practices and I have lots of anger. Or I don't do any meditation practices and I have lots of jealousy. Or I don't do any meditation practices and I have lots of money problems, right? That means those seeds are so big and so pronounced already in your system that you don't need a lot of spiritual energy or spiritual fertilizer to bring those things out. So how do we ease the pain of spiritual evolution? How do we ease the pain of rapidly evolving? Well, number one is you have to have awareness. Number one, you have to have awareness. Because when I started my spiritual practice many, many years ago, and I've been doing Arhatic Yoga for 14 years now, I remember I lacked a lot of awareness on my spiritual path. I would be sitting and I would be doing these really deep, really powerful meditations, and guess what was happening? My body was overheating, my body was excessively sweating, my body was irritated, my body was in a tremendous amount of physical pain because of my spiritual practice. But guess what? Because I have a tendency to be stubborn and very willful, I just push through the pain, I push through the uncomfortableness, I push through the difficulty of my practice. And guess what happened? More spiritual energy, more spiritual energy, more spiritual energy, more spiritual energy, lack of purification, lack of purification, lack of purification, and all of those things became Sean's like, you? Stubborn? Nah. So all of those things deep within me became hyper-activated and hyper-energized. And so anger took over my life temporarily. Sexual desire took over my life temporarily. Negative pride took over my life temporarily. Depression took over my life temporarily. Sadness took over my life temporarily. Right? There are many, 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 many negative physical aspects, negative emotional aspects, and negative mental aspects within us that need to be purified. So I wasn't following Master Cho Koksui's system to the letter. I was doing what I felt like doing, not what the whole system, right? If you leave something out of a system, it's no longer a system, right? I was leaving aspects of it out. So when you're doing your spiritual path, make sure you follow the teachings of a great, great teacher. And then Laura says Kundalini syndrome. So Kundalini syndrome is a term that was coined by Master Cho Koksui over 25 years ago, which explains when you have more Kundalini energy coming up than you have divine energy coming down. Meaning your system is not purified enough, clean enough to let those energies flow smoothly throughout your system. And one of the most famous examples of somebody who had a severe Kundalini syndrome would have been Gopi Krishna. Gopi Krishna, you can actually get, he's written several books. He was a very big activist in India, and he suffered from Kundalini syndrome for 35 years. Hey, Clifford, long time, man. Abba Namaste. So he suffered from Kundalini syndrome for 35 years. And he was doing Namrata, Atma Namaste. He was doing spiritual practices, but he stopped his spiritual practice, and he was still suffering from Kundalini syndrome. And he started. He said the brief moments of oneness with God, oneness with all, the brief moments of deep inner peace, deep inner stillness, were far outweighed by the years of emotional and mental pains. So yes, you can have a tremendous amount of bliss in your meditation practice. I feel so one with God, I feel so one with all. Your heart is expanded, your crown is expanded. But if you don't have enough purification, the rest of your day, the rest of your week, the rest of your month outside of meditation will be in complete and utter chaos. So purification is very important. So purification is talked a lot about in pranic healing or hatha yoga, and I encourage each and every one of you to take pranic healing, practice it, take our hatha yoga, practice it, and if you've already taken those, keep practicing. But you have physical purification, which means exercising your physical body on a regular basis. Hey, Mackenzie, Atma Namaste. You have emotional purification, which deals mostly with the solar plexus. Beautifully enough, when we do physical exercise, we're partially purifying and purging negative lower emotions in the solar plexus. You guys will like this story. So there's a monastery in Thailand. I forget the name of the monastery. You can look it up. Where they give you a decoction, a liquid formula that you put into your mouth, and you go down by the river, and you puke your guts out for hours on end with this particular decoction. The interesting thing is when you're puking, when you're barfing, when you're coughing, when you're laughing, when you're crying, when you're exercising, when you're contracting your abdominal cavity, your abdominal area, the solar plexus chakra is purging lower negative emotions. Have you noticed, if you haven't worked out for a long time and you start working out, your whole body becomes very hot and very itchy? Have you noticed that? If you haven't worked out for a long time, your body becomes super hot, super itchy, and maybe even a little bit irritable. That's because there's deep energies within the solar plexus chakra that have been stored there, that have been stuffed there, that as you're moving the body, that hot, burning energy is coming out, and it's going all throughout the physical body and throughout the aura. So physical exercise is very, very important. Getting energy healing on a regular basis is very, very important. Doing the Twin Hearts meditation on a regular basis is very, very important. Taking salt and lavender baths on a regular basis are very, very important. Hey, Amy, Abba Namaste. Practicing awareness is very, very important. Because think about this. If you're in your meditation and you're bringing down this divine energy, this fertilizing energy that fertilizes the good and the not so good within us, if you're aware of it, you go, starting to get emotionally irritated or starting to get emotionally upset, and you have awareness, then you can catch it before it becomes a problem, right? But let's say you have no awareness like I did in the beginning, and you keep doing these intense meditation practices, more and more anger is building up in your system, and then all of a sudden the littlest, the tiniest, the itty-bittiest thing triggers you and you lose it. I can honestly tell you that there were times in my life that I would rip the door off of the hinges, literally rip the door off of the hinges, because my emotional body was so angry. Pravina, Atma Namaste. Sanab, Atma Namaste. Good to have you on. So when people talk about, does Kundalini syndrome exist? Yes. Can you receive too much energy too quickly? Yes. Is there more to it than just sitting, closing your eyes, and meditating? Yes. I wouldn't wish Kundalini syndrome on my worst enemy. And I've had Kundalini syndrome multiple times in multiple areas and multiple levels of my life. So, with the blessings of God, with the blessings of the teacher, with the mercy of God and the teacher, I've been able to go to the other side of that, so I can be kind of a model example of what not to do on your spiritual path. Does that make sense? So too much meditation is a real thing. If you meditate all the time, horrible thing. So Laura knows what I'm talking about. Most Arhatic yogis who practice regularly have had Kundalini syndrome, and they know exactly what I'm talking about. And I like how Master Choa says, through suffering, one develops compassion. Arlene, Abba Namaste. Through suffering, one develops compassion. So if you have had a prolonged meditation practice, and you've had the ups and downs of your spirituality, you've had really high highs or really low lows, you can look at other younger students and you can have compassion for them and you can help guide them. And you basically, the best way to help guide them, at least on the path of pranic healing and Arhatic yoga, is follow the simple instructions. Everything has been laid out by Master Choa. That's why it's called the system of Arhatic yoga, the system of pranic healing. It's all been laid out. And if you go off and you do your own thing, you are on your own, as Master would say. Because Master has validated what he developed. He has validated what he developed. He can't validate if you take out these two components and then you add in 4 other components from other schools, spiritual practices, your own intuition. He can't validate how that will help you or hinder your progress on the spiritual path. Does that make sense? So, I hope you guys are inspired and not detracted from doing your spiritual practice. It doesn't mean every time you do your spiritual practice, your life is going to fall apart. So Pravina says, Atma, I meditate every day, but I irritate a lot. Yes. Laura says, how do you know you have Kundalini syndrome? How do you recognize it, please? Arlene says, Atma Namaste. Ramesh, Atma Namaste. So Pravina made a very, very good point, and I want to cover this. This is kind of what we were talking about earlier. That she says, I meditate every day, but I am irritated a lot. And you might think to yourself, well, wait a minute. How can I be irritated when I'm meditating? Isn't meditation supposed to bring about inner peace, stillness, clarity, connection with other people? Why would meditation make me irritated? Because it means there's things that are getting overstimulated, ancient seeds within us that are getting overstimulated, seeds of anger, seeds of irritability, seeds of impatience, seeds of frustration that are getting fertilized. Until you remove those seeds from your system, until you purify them out of your system, you'll continue having irritability. So I recommend getting healing. Healing is one of the fastest ways to move you from Kundalini syndrome to having more inner peace and being back on track. Master Choa Koksui says, severe Kundalini syndrome is very difficult to heal. Severe Kundalini syndrome is very difficult to heal. Because think about it, you have all of this energy being generated in your system that's layered and layered and layered and layered and layered without being released after who knows how many years of practice. So it takes time to heal. Also, Pravina, to answer your question, make sure you bless more. You do more physical exercise before your meditation. You release more of the excess energy at the end of meditation, blessing it out. Do more physical exercise after meditation. And then also practice awareness on the irritability. Ask the question, what is making me irritable? Because as you have awareness around the irritability, you can have transformation. No awareness, no transformation. So I hope that helps. Also, lavender oil. Putting lavender oil on your hand and then putting it on your solar plexus, your front solar plexus and your back solar plexus, can also help with the irritability. And Laura says, how do you know you have Kundalini syndrome? Well, awareness. Look at your life. Look at your health. Is my health falling apart? Look at your relationships and your emotions. Are those falling apart? Look at your mind and negative pride and self-esteem and self-image. Is that falling apart? Look at your spiritual practice. Are you seeing things that you can't control? Are you seeing delusional things? Are you seeing entities, elementals? Are you having bizarre psychic phenomenon? That's another indicator. So awareness is number one. Number two, through scanning. For those of you who do not know, there's a skill that you learn in pranic healing called scanning or feeling subtle energies. For the pranic healers and Arhatic yogis, you can scan your root cord that connects you to Mother Earth. You can scan your spiritual cord that connects you to God. And if the root cord is much bigger than the spiritual cord, you most likely have Kundalini syndrome. But if the spiritual cord and the root cord are equal in width and diameter, then you are in balance. Does that make sense? So I hope that helps. But that's a skill set that you develop and refine in pranic healing and Arhatic yoga. And she's an Arhatic yogi, so I can tell her that's what she has to look for. But if anyone is suffering from Kundalini syndrome and they would like healing on it, they can contact me directly. And if they're an Arhatic yogi and they're suffering from Kundalini syndrome, we can review the notes that were taught to us by Grandmaster Choa Koksui, because you might be missing one or two of the components to remove the disease-congested energy from your system. But the spiritual path is quite fascinating. It's very, very broad. It's very, very deep. In fact, it's infinite. There is no end to it. All right, a lot of you guys are coming on. Amanda's on. Adriana, so are there any fervent practitioners that you know that didn't have Kundalini syndrome? Not one. Not one that I'm aware of that has not had Kundalini syndrome, other than a few of the masters. Laura says, is also expelling process, is also, yes. So Laura, yes, it's also an expelling process. George, namaste. I hope you got the message on the Six Figure Energy Healer Facebook group. I answered two of your questions the other day. Pravina, thanks a lot. Atma, God bless you. Thank you. God bless you as well. Hey, Karen, namaste. Laura says she knew it. Arlene says great information. Laura says ha ha ha. Hey, Sunny. Bob, Atma, namaste. Welcome. So, are there any other questions, comments, challenges, concerns? Obviously, guys, I can't cover everything in great detail. Why? Because I'm not authorized to do so. I'm not an Arhatic yoga instructor. There's very few of them in the entire planet. So I'm not authorized to give you the step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. That's not my position, and that's not my right? These are Master Choa Koksui's teachings. What I'm doing is I'm sharing with you my experience as a spiritual practitioner. Hey Gretchen, namaste. I've been meditating regularly for 19 years, and I've been doing Arhatic yoga practice for 14 years. And in the beginning, and then as you practice more and as you get more aware and you start doing things correctly, it's like this, right? What was I going to say about that? Oh, one of my mentors said this to me, and I've noticed it's pretty consistent. And for those of you who are Arhatic yogis, you can look at your own life to validate it. Your first 2 years of Arhatic yoga, your life is going to have a lot of ups and downs. The first 2 years, which means you're going to require lots of healing, lots of service, and lots of tithing. That's what I've noticed. That's been my observation with myself, other practitioners, and people who I've dated who have become Arhatic yoga practitioners. And Laura says, you are a great teacher. Well, I'm just the mouthpiece of Grandmaster Choa, doing the best I can. And that's it. So, that being said, if you guys are in need of healing, reach out to me at christianarlong.com/services. christianarlong.com/services. Schedule a one-on-one distant pranic healing session with me. It's 30 minutes of coaching, 30 minutes of healing, and we'll move you from where you are to where you want to be in a very, very quick period of time. And I've been doing this work for 14 years. It's an honor to help people. And you're not alone in the process. I've been blessed to have many, many mentors and many, many advanced healers come into my life to help me get out of my own Kundalini syndrome, Kundalini syndromes over the past 14 plus years. So that's it, guys. Lots of light, love, and power from God and the great ones. I will see you most likely tomorrow. Questions, put it in the comment section below or direct message me. This is Christian Arlong, Life Enhancement Consultant, wishing you a beautiful Sunday, a beautiful week, and a beautiful life. Atma, Namaste. Bye-bye.